Most people don't make bad decisions because they don't know what's right. They make them because, in the moment, knowing feels weaker than relief. You've felt this before. That quiet space where you pause, aware of what you should do, and then still do something else. Not because you're confused, not because you lack intelligence, but because something inside you wants the discomfort to stop now, not later. There's a strange comfort in telling ourselves we didn't know better. It protects the ego, but the truth is more unsettling. Most of the time, we do know better. We just choose not to listen. We grow up believing that knowledge leads to good decisions, that if we read enough, think enough, understand enough, the right choice will naturally follow. It sounds logical, it feels reassuring, and it's mostly wrong. You can know exactly why a relationship is unhealthy and still stay. You can understand how money works and still spend what you shouldn't. You can be fully aware that procrastination is hurting you and still delay the thing that matters most. Information isn't the missing piece. If it were, people would change the moment they understood. Knowing better doesn't stop the hand from reaching for what feels familiar. It doesn't stop the message from being sent. It doesn't stop the excuse from forming. What we often call a bad decision is usually a decision that made emotional sense in the moment it was made. That's the part we rarely examine. We look at the outcome and judge ourselves harshly, but we forget to ask what the decision was trying to solve emotionally at the time. Because decisions are rarely about logic alone. They are negotiations between discomfort now and consequences later. And the human mind has a strong bias toward whatever quiets the noise fastest. Avoidance feels like peace. Comfort feels like safety. Approval feels like certainty. These feelings don't announce themselves as enemies. They arrive calmly. They sound reasonable. They tell you to rest instead of act, to stay instead of leave, to wait instead of decide. And in the short term, they often work. The tension drops, the anxiety fades, the problem feels smaller. That relief becomes the reward. And once a decision brings relief, your mind remembers it. Over time, you start repeating the same choices, not because they're good, but because they are familiar. Familiarity has a gravity to it. It pulls you back without asking permission. You don't wake up intending to repeat old mistakes. You just follow a path you've walked before. The mind likes paths it already knows. They require less effort, less attention, less risk. This is where the idea of intelligence quietly collapses. Smart people make bad decisions all the time, sometimes more often than others, because intelligence can be used to justify almost anything. It can rationalize, explain, defend, and reframe. It can build beautiful stories around choices that were made for much simpler reasons. Emotional reasons, urgent reasons, reasons that never passed through conscious thought. Most decisions aren't made by thinking. They're made by momentum. You tell yourself you're deciding, but often you're just continuing a pattern, continuing a habit, continuing a role you've played before. The mind prefers continuity. Change interrupts the story you've been telling yourself about who you are and how your life works. Interruptions require attention, and attention is uncomfortable. This is the moment most people miss, the brief space where a decision could be seen instead of acted out, where a pattern could be noticed instead of obeyed. That space exists, but it's quiet. It doesn't force itself forward. It doesn't demand action. You have to slow down enough to notice it. And slowing down feels dangerous when emotions are loud. So the pattern repeats. In relationships, people choose what feels emotionally predictable over what is genuinely healthy. In work, they choose what feels safe over what feels aligned. With money, they choose immediate comfort over long-term stability. Not because they don't understand the trade-off, but because the emotional weight of waiting feels heavier than the cost of repeating. If you look closely, you'll see that many decisions aren't really decisions.
When you pause before acting, even briefly, something interesting happens. The urgency loses its authority. The emotion doesn't disappear, but it becomes observable. You start to notice how often decisions are driven by a need to escape a feeling rather than move toward a value. That awareness doesn't tell you what to do. It simply removes the illusion that you're choosing freely when you're not. Better decisions don't come from stronger willpower, they come from fewer automatic responses, from recognizing when a choice is being made to avoid discomfort rather than to honor something meaningful. This recognition doesn't feel heroic, it feels quiet, almost anticlimactic. There's no rush to it, no dramatic shift, just a subtle interruption in the usual flow. And that interruption is often enough. You don't need to fix every pattern at once. You don't need to overhaul your life. Those are the kinds of ideas that create more pressure and more urgency, the same forces that lead to rushed decisions in the first place. What changes things is noticing when the same decision keeps appearing in different forms, different people, different situations, same emotional logic. At some point, you start to see that the cost of repeating is higher than the discomfort of stopping. Not stopping forever, just stopping long enough to see what's actually happening. That's when decisions begin to feel different, less reactive, less rehearsed, less predictable. Most people never reach this point because they're too busy explaining their choices to themselves. Explanation feels productive. It feels like understanding. But explanation often comes after the fact. Awareness comes before. And awareness requires silence, space, a willingness to sit with discomfort without immediately resolving it. That willingness is rare, not because it's impossible, but because it isn't rewarded immediately. There's no applause for hesitation, no validation for restraint. In a world that celebrates speed and confidence, slowing down feels like weakness, but it's often the opposite. The difference between repeating and choosing is rarely dramatic. It's usually a few seconds longer than you're used to waiting. A slightly uncomfortable pause. A moment where you resist the urge to act just to feel better. That moment doesn't announce itself as important. It feels ordinary, almost boring, which is why it's so easy to miss. Most people don't need better advice. They need fewer moments of unconscious urgency
And once you see that, once you notice how often decisions are made to quiet something rather than build something, it becomes hard to unsee. The patterns don't vanish, but they lose some of their power, not because you fought them, but because you finally noticed them in time. That's where change actually begins, not with certainty, not with confidence, but with a pause that feels slightly uncomfortable, slightly unfamiliar, and quietly honest. Lee,